Hey guys, it's good to be back on, at least I hope, with the new system that we are actually recording something. It looks rather different. Oh yes, we do have a little timer in there. So the seconds are ticking away and I am back with a little vlog, check-in mixture of rambles of, the type that you're used to by now. Because I haven't been on all week. And there was a reason for that. I wasn't gone on holidays yet, even though I'm not completely, confident how to go about that security-wise. What with, telling people that you're going away, I don't think that's really a clever move. So I probably won't be too specific about that. Anyway, about the past week, I haven't been on holiday yet, insofar as that we've had really nice weather in the Netherlands, and the light is really weird because the sun is actually shining on my floor and the light is bouncing into my face like that. So whatever, I still wanted this type of setup because I'm sitting on this side of the table instead of on that or on that side, because whatever, I just landed here and I'm doing something with cards. I have been talking about my Rose Oracle project and it is kind of happening. So what I've done, I have made photographs of my cards as they are, which you've seen already, and printed them out. And it looks like sort of like this. Actually, I feel now this image isn't really the right size the way it should be. It's a bit on the big side. This is better. So this is what they will sort of look like. A drawing set against the background of a Tibetan woven material. I hope you can see some of that. There won't be any capitals in the captions there. At first I did them in like Roman capitals like that, and then afterwards I decided not to. What I'm rather pleased with, which maybe you can tell slightly, is that this has quite a bit of earth tone coloring in it, and that came out fairly nicely from the printer. Even though my cartridge is dying, the yellow part of the cartridge is dying, the other parts are still more or less okay. What I did, I just printed out 8 more or less random cards to see what it would look like. These are the backs. These are the backs on one, actually, of the first series of this card series. So it has this back, and the other series has got a different type of back, more or less in the same style, but different colors. But I picked just one of these and stuck them on to all these. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about whether to incorporate captions and meanings or not, or possibly make 2 different versions, one with captions and meanings that are, really set. As far as I'm concerned, they're set. They have, there's really, a message in these cards, but I can imagine that some people would really like to work with this type of material without any captions at all. So that's fine. We will see where we go with this. And so far I'm just, doing my thing at home here. I'm not even really sure where to go to get them printed properly so that it's a bit more, quality type. It's an investment anyway. So let me get my breath back. For some reason, I don't have any breath. I was working in my garden, sweeping and cleaning a bit. So maybe that's it after all. And I've had lunch since then, and my tea is right here. So I decided that it was high time for me to come on and talk to you guys. What I've been, what else has been brewing and stewing on this end of things. So the main event, I think, for me has been yet another, yes, Shakti energy development that I've been kind of having to deal with the results of a particular development that I will go into in a bit. And it feels again like things have changed and I've had to get used to that a bit. And so it's been slightly, everything is kind of different again. So it's, you know, when you have a major change in your life, you're just like, you know, I dream when I'm asleep, I dream about moving house again. Which I don't like, because I've moved house enough times in my life, plenty. And there's another, I suppose it's a realization or an important thought for me that I had, or that's been sort of growing on me, I suppose, in the past couple of days, about moving house as a kid. If, you know, your parents are divorced, but you stay in one place until you're 12 or so. My husband made one quite clever, insightful remark, I thought, about that, is a big difference may be that one or more of your grandparents or other relatives will be living in that same town with you. So that creates a network and a sense of coherence for the child in question, right? Wouldn't you say? Even if your parents divorce, which is already quite a bit, you know, it's nasty and it's a big deal, at least there will be that sense. And what struck me at first, the thought that sort of came to me was, if you move house after that, or say you've lived in one place close to those grandparents, etc., until you were 8 years old even, and then move one time, then you at least will know what a network feels like for you and what it is. You won't lose your whole network in one go. Most people don't like emigrate to the other part of the world or the other side of the world, really. That does happen, but they take a lot of their network with them, and somehow there can be a lot of support also coming to them from letters. And, you know, nowadays with social media, it's not hard at all to keep in touch with people, I think. But at least in whatever circumstances, normally, whenever you move, you at least know what a network is like, how you do your thing to keep the network alive. And then when you're with completely new and different people, you know more or less how to go about this. And it's difficult for a lot of people and challenging, and they find out a lot about themselves, and it's, you know, it's not easy. For me, I'm trying to find reasons for also, you know, things that I used to do, things that I used to find excruciatingly difficult socially, with the way I behave towards people, things like that. A lot of that, it can be explained really easily by the fact that I did not have any sense of a social network. I'm going to shift you around slightly because I'm getting a reflection. Sorry for the pull. That's just a pull there. It's not really relevant. It serves to block the back window here when we're away. But I'm getting the reflection from yonder windows in my glasses, and then you can't see me, you know. So I think that's not, it's still there. One way to solve this. Hang on a second. Yes, I think that helps, sort of. Not so much. This is a disaster. I closed off one of those curtains, but not both of them, so you still get these green. Anyway, you can see me, you know what I'm trying to say here, okay? I'm going to try and sit. It's annoying me. I'm not even worried about you at the moment. I'm, okay. It'll have to do. The thing is, I realized that I never had any network, so I couldn't build up a new one either. And that's been I think it has been like a sickness for me, really. And I didn't even know how to be depressed about it. I didn't know how to feel loss. I didn't know how to feel anger about those things, because what I had was my normal. So that's kind of a big deal. It's more of a psychological reevaluation of how people have certainly at several points in my life blamed me for the way I acted, because they felt I was disconnected or not interested in their motivations, or I don't know how to say those things really. People felt weird because I was weird. So that makes sense afterwards, now that I spent the last 6 years in this village where I live now, also more or less blaming myself and feeling discontent with the fact that I couldn't feel at home when everything around me is perfect. My surroundings are wonderful. I've got a garden, I've got animals, my husband's here, plenty good things, right? And I couldn't recognize the place as my home. The emotional connection was missing. It's coming now. It's a lot better. I would say there is a 20 to 40% more or less low level, low grade field sense of recognition that this is my place, including the activities that I do, the people I know, the streets and all the rest of it, for almost all of the time. So that's really, for me, that's really a new development. And seeing as where I'm coming from, what I'm struck by really is how much sense it all makes. I make perfect sense to myself, Sorry. So, except I would have liked to know 20, 30 years ago what it was that was going on. Some people actually did try to tell me or show me or explain to me that it wasn't normal where I was, the way I was, where I was coming from and the way things had been for me and all that. But I didn't have any ground for comparison, and I was supposed to always, solve my own problems. And so, yeah, none of that really happened for me. But the fact that your grandparents live in the same town as you, or several other relatives are more or less close by, and I suppose that creates a level of consistency for a kid growing up. And I think that actually that level of consistency is so important to us growing up that then afterwards we can choose, of course, how much involvement with those people we really want or need, or how much of that suits us personally. But at least there was consistency. And I think that to a child anywhere in the world, that level of consistency is like paramount. And that's why kids put up with anything from anybody, more or less. We're flexible, we adapt, we, take it as it comes. But for me, it has been utter chaos. And with 3 planets in Cancer, it wasn't... I was sort of attached to my dad, I was attached to my mum, and they both sucked at being parents, and they didn't really have a clue. They were movie stars in their own movie, and I was just you call one of those little characters who just walks by like that. Now the words come in Dutch, in French, but not in English. So whatever, you know what I mean. So that's been on my mind. It's like more or less a psychological, getting perspective about things that really are quite in a way, there's nothing new in all that information. It's just something that I've, it's good. It's good to get the perspective right, because you can tell yourself things are normal when they really aren't. So yeah. So that's one part. The other part, the part that has had the most weird sense influence on me this week started Monday, actually. What happened is we had some disagreements with people. Again, it wasn't me, it wasn't directed at me, it was directed at somebody else. But there was like this whole, it's volunteer work, so you're dealing with people's emotions a lot. It was becoming a bit of a circus again. And I had to talk to our supervisor about how that was going. And I was so insecure because it had to do with stating my take on things, in public. And getting people to take me seriously, because I was also basically working for the group to restore harmony, if that's at all possible. So, and then a couple of things had to be said, and a couple of things had to be communicated, in such a way that everybody could tell that I was working for them, really, and not doing more gossip and more cliquey, competitive, antagonistic, horrible things. I'm not into that. I want to be on my own side. Thank you very much. So all that had created a great deal of tension that had sort of ruined my whole weekend. And I'd, managed to finally have this telephone conversation with my supervisor, and she knew what I was talking about, and I was fine by then, more or less. But the whole thing, and that's where I'm finally going to get there. The whole thing led me to do another white light meditation, really, on Monday, somewhere in the middle of the day, because I couldn't really deal with the level of insecurity that I was feeling. I was like shaking, and my heart was racing almost, it was so uncomfortable. And I'd been talking about those very same things, and, going on about the solar plexus energy and the heart energy, and how they're supposed to communicate with each other, and how the Shakti energy is supposed to, organize some level of communication between those two areas, right? Last week. So that's about a week ago, or maybe it was Thursday or Wednesday last week, that I was talking about those very things. And then in that situation, I'd kind of used the Shakti energy at that point to sort of get this area, like in the diaphragm. I've looked it up in the medical anatomy and things, how that's supposed to look like. In there somewhere, there would be like a kind of an energetic membrane that tends to close everything down. Actually, the diaphragm looks like that. So if you look up diaphragm anatomy, you'll get plenty of pics of this. It's like a muscle going like the top half of a barrel or something like that down, and on the lower edges it's actually attached to the rib cage. And so there are in the middle of the muscle mass, it's like fan shaped muscles going out from a center, and in the center is a tendon, so that's a lot tougher, right? And there's holes in it that allow passage of arteries and digestive tract and all that stuff up and down. Okay, that's the physical level. The energetic level that I spoke of last week is quite similar. I think there's a layer of energy, more or less identical to the diaphragm, really, that tends to shut down communications between the belly half and the heart half of us in times of crisis. So when we are afraid, when we are panicky, when we are feeling very insecure about things, feeling threatened, etc., you know what I mean, the tendency of that energetic area, and that'll have an influence on the actual physical diaphragm, of course, is to just scrunch up as much as possible in order to, I think, keep as much vitality, life energy in our bellies, in our digestive systems, to keep our bodies alive, because it's all very important to, it's from there on out that the bodies function, right? So, and if your digestion is functioning properly, then all the rest of it can, sort of fix itself and do its thing and change and grow and potentially. However, I have seen with my mother, if your digestive systems are completely gone to the devil, then you can only live so long. So there's a thought train that just went off into the distance that I'm going to stop right there, because there's a lot more that has to do with my mum over there that I have never thought about. So, okay. So far, it's a kind of a little recapitulation of what I said last week. However, Monday last, and this is Friday the 5th, I think, of July 2019 today. So that was Monday the 1st of July 2019, okay? I did another meditation. I tried to access some Shakti energy, etc. But I was so nervous for that conversation with my supervisor. I was so insecure because of the back and forth. It wasn't even that people were yelling at each other so much. If only they yelled sometimes, that would kind of help. Some people just get very tense, and I can't deal with that. They exude this grrr, it's like electricity, and they're completely unreasonable, and they can't listen to you anymore, and everything that comes out of their mouth is negative and shit. So, okay, and it was actually said by this other person, in so many words that she didn't care how I felt. So she didn't even care how her husband felt, because she was so upset. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why she needed to be this upset with yet another person. Okay, so too many persons, and it's all gone, I think, in the past now. We're on holiday, everybody's going to be free of each other for a couple of months at least, and by the time we have to face each other again, I suppose that everything will have simmered down, and people will have had time to think, and so on and so forth. And we will see what happens. I don't know. We'll see. But this sort of shit, it just tends to... I'm confronted with the two options: to stop all this activity and to not be involved anymore, which would mean that I have nobody in this village that I will see regularly on a neutral sort of work type basis ever again. So I'm really motivated to stick to this volunteer work, because I need to have me some activities where I can actually be with other people, talk about normal things, and this is also a very interesting challenge. The whole thing has been an interesting challenge, and a reason to do yet another meditation. Only this time, as I said, I was feeling so nervous and so insecure, and I had heart palpitations and blood pressure and God knows what else. And the only thing that's left at that point for me to do that will stabilize me is white light. I've talked about white light on my channel before, and before I move on, I'm going to shut the other curtain as well, because I'm constantly looking at the little green square. Lordy, it's already 25 minutes in and I don't think I've said anything particularly pertinent. At least the green blob is gone. Okay, so the most important thing about the white light, I suppose you could see it very easily as it is an energy, a vibration comparable to a vibration of some crystals. There are lots of people who talk about the violet flame, for example. That's a similar vibration as well. It's a vibration that exists separate from, I wouldn't say separate from us necessarily, but certainly separate from crystals or any other tools that you can access if you want, if you feel ready for that type of thing, if that's something that appeals to you. In particular, it's kind of what I'm interested in also is the fact that this type of vibration is impersonal. So there are other types of vibrations that are also on this non-physical level, higher, above, if you like to call it that, that are personal, that I would equate with the higher self or the soul. But those are personal vibrations, and the white light is by definition, that's how I look at it anyway, is an impersonal, universal vibration, like a source consciousness or some such. But it's very strong, and you can, it depends a bit how much you need, what, where, and when, and how you have to make a relationship with that type of field. It's not something you need every day. And so I suppose I've worked with white light really as that's where everything started for me on this healing and energy work field for me. I think that's at least 30 years ago that I did, chakra meditations and, crown chakra openings and those type of things. And that's where you start perceiving, getting a perception really of these energies that are really different from the normal everyday. I'm getting a notification now that my battery is a bit low, so I'll have to wrap this up, I suppose. I called in white light. I called the white light. I did a bit of aura clearing and all those type of things. There was more also work that could be done in my earth line area where, people and things. I suppose, there's always energies in there that can be cleared with white light, using white light. The most interesting bit for me was that after that, I asked the white light to come into my body and to, especially in particular, have a look at this area between the solar plexus and the heart chakra area. So in between those two. And then a weird thing happened. It was like something like this big in diameter, about this shape also, and 0.5 centimeter in thickness, like a disc of, for example, something that would be like wood in material, in substance, except it was purely an energy manifestation, okay, that was taken out of there by the white light and transported away. And it was really weird because I could feel that my two parts of my energy self in this body came into contact with each other for the first time. From two sides, I'm getting information from the heart side down and from the belly side up. I'm getting contact information. So that felt very good and very sensitive and very weird. And it looks like that wooden disc, or whatever you want to call it, was actually a Shakti-stopper. Go figure. I have no idea what this is, whether this type of thing happens every day, whether people have got these type of implants stuck in their anatomy everywhere, and it prevents A from contacting B and the other way around. Weird, okay? So after that, I had my conversation with my supervisor and everything was fine and I was in control of myself and I felt a lot better. I didn't have the, anxiety, flibberty, craziness going on anymore. I can breathe. I feel also that I breathe more deeply since a couple of days, really. And I basically just let myself live after that. I felt like, okay, I'm done getting all upset about people. I don't have any obligations other than a couple of, things with my husband, or tomorrow another client run with my husband, which is fine because I don't have to do anything else except be a bit of a cheerful companion and, drive his ass around potentially for a part of the day. And most of that's completely fine. So, I've been really insecure during the week. I wanted to talk about this. I also felt like I shouldn't really yak on about Shakti energy work all the time because, there are other things in life and what have you. And I'm going on my holiday and we're going to the Alps and we're going so I'll be reporting about my holiday. You can be sure of that because I've got plenty good stuff to share later on. But it was in the way, and I was also, trying to fit it in with the rest of and I was also a bit insecure in a different way about what would turn out happening, how it would feel, and whether, I was just trying to be a bit careful with myself during the week, and just give myself time off, basically. One thing I did is this little thing here contains a beeswax mixture, beeswax and coconut oil in about 60 to 40 ratio, something like that. And it contains myrrh and lavender oils and a couple of other things. A bit of aniseed oil is in there, and patchouli, and I think benzoate. From Thailand. It smells really nice. And the smell is predominantly myrrh oil, which I find I was very attracted to during the whole week because I'm also in a PMS phase. So if I'm jittery in your perception of things, that's right, I am jittery. But I also noticed that myrrh oil actually, and also energetically, just carried around with you like this, or in an aromatherapy mixture, because I also got one of those. This one contains rosewood oil as well, and rosemary, and the other thing, like frankincense oil, but the pure extraction from the boswellia, so not a frankincense perfume, okay? This smells more like rosemary, and it's got a bit more lightness. It's a bit more in the top fragrances than this one. Both of these, but especially the myrrh oil, is so fragrant and it's so soothing, and it's like it takes my tendency. I have a tendency to sort of scrunch myself together when I have PMS, and it undoes that. So it just makes everything smoother again and easier to, spread out a bit and just do the several things that you are doing without trying to squeeze everything tightly together for some reason. Anyway, I hope this is of some use to anybody out there. I will put the bit about the myrrh in the description, certainly, because, hormones, duh. There's not enough good remedies, and there's plenty good remedies, but they're not publicized enough, I think. People don't know about them enough. And this is just my experience that I had this week. I thought I must have some myrrh oil somewhere, and lo and behold, the first bag of essential oils that I opened, there it was. The first thing I hit on was the Myrrh oil, so that was meant to be. And it's just a blessing. The oils and the aromatherapy and all the rest of it is just a blessing. So with that, I will leave you for now. I will get myself soon some new cartridges, and then I can do this properly, you know. Still, I think they look rather nice, and my cards, you know, they're quite different. It looks different from, that's why I made just a handful of them to the labyrinth in Chartres that we visited last year. Have a nice weekend, guys. I will be seeing you again soon next week. Okay? Bye bye for now. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.